Welcome back, Queen, to another episode of the Creatress of Freedom podcast. I am Annie and I am your host, and I am so happy that you have chosen to join me today for this very, very special episode. If you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so honored that you have taken time out of your day to tune in to hear this wisdom that is about to be poured into you. And if you are an OG, welcome back, Queen. I'm so happy that you're here. You know that I love you. So let's delve straight into today's episode. Today is a really, really special episode because this beautiful guest speaker that I am about to bring on in a second is someone that is very dear to my heart, that has actually not been in my life for very long. If you have been following my stories and my social media content, you will see that the love and the connection is deep here. And this is the closest thing that I have to a brother. And so I'm very, very excited to welcome on my beautiful dear friend and spiritual buddy, Kareem. Hello, hello. Come on in and say hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, queens and ladies. And hello, Annie, my dear friend. I'm so happy and so excited to be here with you. We have a special connection, and I couldn't be more happier and honored to enter your space and be talking to everyone who's listening. So thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. We have been talking for a little while now about having you come on. We have such incredible conversations when we are in real life together. Do you know what I also love is how every time you would ask me over for dinner, it was always on like a new moon or a full moon. And like, look at the day that we are recording this episode on the full moon. Like, you can't make this
True.
up.
We didn't even try to make it happen like that.
No.
I usually try to synchronize everything that I do or ceremonies with the new moon or the full moon or the cycles of the moon in general. But with Annie specifically, it always happens randomly. Well, randomly, if there's anything
Yeah.
random. But
Yeah.
every time we try to get together or do even a ceremony or any ritual or anything, it happens on a full moon or a new moon. And today is not any different. Like, we didn't even try to do it like that, and here we are on a full moon. So yeah.
I know. I literally like had the biggest laugh this morning on my walk because I was like looking at my schedule and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to tell Karim. Like, I mean, but of course we have planned this without even planning it to be on the full moon. Like, love it, the
Absolutely.
best. I want to take them back a little bit to how I met you, first of all, and then I would love for you to come on and share a little bit about your journey and who you are, if that would be okay with you.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Amazing. Okay,
Exciting.
perfect. Let's back it up. I was living in Greece, in Crete on the island. I'd been there for a few months, and then I happened to run into these two incredible people at a wine festival. Now, I wasn't actually drinking at this wine festival. This was when I was drinking, but I wasn't drinking because I had a midnight coaching call that I had to get home for. So I literally was not drinking. Everyone else was having a great time. We ended up running into you and Lockie, and then we ended up going and having dinner together, like just randomly, like didn't even know who you guys were, and just instantly like fell in love with both of you. And then as we started to spend more time together, we started to realize we actually have a lot of things in common. We are very much into spirituality. We have similar backgrounds, but different backgrounds, like with our childhood and religious upbringings and things like that. We realize that we are actually very similar in a lot of ways. You know, we are the black sheep of our family. The more that we spent together, the more I love you, because I truly felt like you saw me for me and you accepted me for me. Lockie was exactly the same. And it was such a beautiful reflection for me to witness these people that I had brought into my life, because I felt like I struggled to find my people. All of a sudden, I have you two come into my life, and I'm truly so honored and so grateful that you showed up at exactly the right time when I needed to have some people in my life. I felt very lonely and very isolated in Greece, and meeting you guys was like just an absolute gift. Like the universe heard my prayers because you came in. I don't have a relationship with my own brother and really missed that. And I feel like, the universe delivered me not just one brother, but two brothers. So I'm so honored to have this journey that we've embarked on together. We've also collaborated together at my retreat that I hosted. You came in and you shared your wisdom with the beautiful babes at the beach, and we did a beautiful ceremony. And I just am so inspired by you. And I love what you're doing and what you're stepping into and everything that you believe in, because we have similar spirituality definitions, but yet different. And so I think both of our perspectives really unique to be able to offer and share to the world. So I'm so grateful to have ran into you at the wine festival that one time. Like, we don't believe in coincidences, because everything always happens for a reason, for sure. Ever since then, it's just been amazing. And obviously I've left Greece, and I miss you guys so much because I'm in Australia now, but just because we are apart, we've still stayed just as close, which is absolutely beautiful. And I am very, very excited to see just how our friendship continues over the coming years. There's a soul connection here. It's like family. I'm very excited to see where our journey leads us. That's a little introductory from
Yes.
me on how I feel about all of that. But maybe you would like to come on and share a little bit about your experience, who you are, where you're from. I mean, I feel like I have so much to say about where you're from. I actually was hoping to get to Egypt last year, but with my visa, it just didn't allow me to make that happen. But I'm trusting in the divine timing, and I truly believe that I needed to meet you before I ended up going to Egypt, because I think you're going to make that whole experience just a whole nother level. So, do you want to come on, Kareem, and share with us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was really special how we met each other and what we saw in each other, because these things can only be felt. You cannot think about them or overthink them. And we had instantly that connection. And it was also a very interesting perspective to know or to see that spirituality doesn't only have to be in a certain shape or mold or come in a special packaging, because you're coaching businesswoman and you're coaching more about business, but you're also bringing spirituality into that space. So there is no separation here. Like, everything is interconnected. You can use spirituality in every single thing. It doesn't have a single language to it. We come from different backgrounds, but we have kind of the same story, which also was an eye-opener for me, because I come from Muslim background with the traditions of Egypt. I come from Egypt, of course, and you come from Australia, and your background is religious as well, but it's another type of religion. But both our backgrounds were kind of strict and were kind of confining in a way. But I think those two different views made us who we are today, and that's how we kind of connected. That's what made us be more spiritual than religious in a way. So it doesn't matter what your background is, like, your path is your path, whatever it is. Yeah, I'm grateful for that. My story was that I was always searching for answers, and by nature or by default, there are certain things that I couldn't understand how the world is accepting, or how some religions are advocating for. And in my long search for that, I was, searching in different religions and different spiritual systems. I went to the yoga system, and I did a lot of training. I was a teacher. I did a lot of teacher trainings. I went to retreats. I went to the Buddhist system. I did shamanic ceremonies and many, many other systems, even the Sufi system, which is the spiritual part of Islam in a way. And, in my deep research for all of that, I had to let go of a lot of constructs that the community puts on us, a lot of patterns and a lot of conditionings that we kind of brought into in this world, whether by families or whether by traditions or by the communities around us. And, you had to invite what is new so that you can step into what you're meant to do. In my mind, I didn't think there was anything connected to ancient Egypt except, it's a history and it's a pile of stones and it's what's in the museums and it's the temples and the pyramids, and that's about it. But I always had that connection with all of these beautiful things. Like whenever I would go and visit them, I felt drawn to it as if it's like magic, but I didn't know what it is. Then I kept on searching and looking and studying, trying to embody all of these different spiritual systems like the Buddhist or the Taoist or the yoga. I just didn't connect with any of them enough that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And until, it's a funny story. The last thing that I did, I was taking the shamanic route and I went to Turkey to do a shamanic ritual and a ceremony at the change of the seasons. And the shaman, he rejected me. He told me, go back to what you're doing because, you need to be initiated to shamanism and you need to do it for years with them because it's a long process to be a shaman. It's not that simple. And you need to live with them kind of and study with them and learn the medicine and so many things. And he simply told me, no, go back to your roots. You're from Egypt
Wow.
and go study that and go learn that. And silly me, I was like, but there is nothing Egyptian that is spiritual from my ignorance, of course, back then. And he's like, you are wrong. It's everywhere. You just didn't look enough. Because, I'm used to the books. I'm used to, the yoga has the Bhagavad Gita. The Sufi system has its rules. All of these spiritual systems have a system, have a book, a journey that you can learn from and you can do. But the ancient Egyptian one was never compiled into a proper spiritual system where people can follow. There is no well-known retreats or teachers that teach ancient Egyptian spirituality. So I started my journey from there. I listened to the shaman. I went back and I started digging deep, and here we are. It's transformative. It's beautiful. I studied so much with Egyptologists and did so much research and I did so much excursions, and this is where everything started basically. So I'm excited.
Wow.
I'm happy.
I didn't know that. So even I'm learning something here today as well. Wow. Talk about trusting in the divine. You went on one path and you were fully redirected to something that you were essentially, I don't want to say resisting because I don't think you were resisting it, but it was like you hadn't looked deep enough into what your path was actually supposed to be. And what a gift that shaman gave you. And it makes so much sense as you're talking, because you're saying that there's nothing in the Egyptian world that has the spiritual context to it. So and of course here you are. Of course here you are. You were supposed to be the birther of that. That's amazing.
Well, it's a long, very long process, and it's decoding a lot of things. It's like seeing through all of these concepts and meanings. But I also have to give credit to all the teachings and all the studies that I've did in all the other systems, like getting into the Buddhist system and, all of the other beautiful systems. Without these, I wouldn't have seen the similarities between them, because all the systems, they are basically saying the same thing. That helped me kind of connecting the dots with the ancient Egyptian spiritual system. And this is what I am teaching nowadays. And this is what I'm embodying in my life. This is what I believe in the most, more than anything. Instead of seeing what's the differences and this is wrong and this is a completely different religion and all of these things, I started seeing what is connecting them, what is the similarities, and then reading between the lines, because there's so much wisdom, there's so much information out there about the ancient Egyptian system. But usually people see it from a scholar way, or usually people see it as maybe tour guides or something to be put in a museum or history books, rather than what can be revived out of it, what we can use today. There's so much that can be used, especially today, as you know, what's happening in the world and all the chaos that is going on. For me, this is the biggest proof that this ancient wisdom and this ancient philosophy um, is legit and it has proper roots, because if it wasn't, it would have perished. It wouldn't have been resurrected, literally. It wouldn't have came back with all its wisdom somehow magically. I don't believe in coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. But with the more things in the world becomes, darker and chaotic, the more gifts we get as well, the more light can come out of it. And I believe this is one of them. This is one of the gifts that it's coming at the right time. You have a choice. You see it, either you can acknowledge it and you can honor it and perhaps either study it or apply it in your life, or you can say this is blasphemy or this is nonsense. Of course, I'm not saying that this is the only path. I'm saying that applies to any other path you're taking, whatever your spiritual practice is, because we're all different and there is no one path and one right and one wrong. Like, we all have different upbringings, we all have different bodies, different energies, and whatever works for you works for you, what suits you. I'm sure that your practice is also different than mine, and we have things in common, even with our beautiful little ceremonies that we were doing. You were doing things that were different things, but then there were some things we were doing in common. And this is just, our humanity, the common things of our human nature that is getting together. So we're finding the similarities, but we're also joining our forces together into creating something new, something beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful topic to really deepen on, because I feel like what you were just sharing about how there is all these different ways, that there is no one way is the right way, because we are all very different. We all grew up differently. We all have different belief systems, and there is no one shoe fit. Honestly, what I love about the word spirituality versus the word religion, because growing up in religious households, for those of you that are new listening here, I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household, and there's a belief system of that's the only way, and there's this manipulation that happens, this fear mongering of like, well, if you're not going to follow this way, well then like you'll be outcasted. That's what I really love about spirituality, because it really does unite us. It brings community together, because we're able to see that we all have different belief systems, that we all have different practices, that we all have different ways of living, but ultimately we have the umbrella of community, unity, and like humanity. So I love that you touched on that, because that really creates acceptance. That is like one of our key things that we're all looking for in this human life experience, is to belong. And that's what I love about spirituality. It really distorts the constraints, the structures of what it look like regarding religion. I loved that you touched on that. But I do want to come back to another thing that you were talking about just before, because we actually talked a little bit about this before we hit record, and I think that this is a really powerful conversation for us to have. You talked about the chaos that's happening in the world at the moment. There is a lot of chaos, there's a lot of fear. The reality is that's what we're facing right now. So based on Egyptian spirituality, what do you have to say to people that are currently feeling the impacts of what's going on in the world? Like, what tools can you give them to help them like see the light while we're in the dark right now?
I mean, as we said, it's different from every person to another, but I will talk from my experience on the ancient Egyptian spiritual system. In the Egyptian eye, the world was created through the chaos. The chaos started first, and they called it the Noon, which is the cosmic ocean. It's a primordial, dark, limitless chaos of ocean. They say that the divine was inside that, but from that chaos came out the order. The order is called Ma'at, which is the order, the harmony, the truth, the justice, all of these beautiful things. So the first thing is that we shouldn't really get too scared from that chaos, because from the chaos always comes out the order, comes out the harmony and the justice. But it's a matter of choice. We have that choice every day when we wake up. The biggest the biggest misconception that I see, and it might be the most thing that I see hurtful to our times today, that people think that we are helpless. People think that we don't have the power in front of all of these mega chaotic incidents and mega chaotic things happening around us. But in the Egyptian mythology or in the Egyptian philosophy, they believe that everything was connected. They believe that the human being is connected to the surrounding, is connected to the cosmos and the movement of the planets and the stars. There is a connection between the macro and the micro and what's around us. So whatever happens inside us will be reflected outside, which means that if we choose to do the right every day, if we choose to follow what the natural laws of the universe do every day, if I choose to be good to my neighbor, if I choose to not step out of the line when I'm waiting for something, if I choose to use a kind word, this is not nothing. Yes, it's just you as a person, but this has an impact on the universe. This energy has a ripple effect. And it's not just words. Like, this is really what the Egyptians believed in, because they believed in something. It's a triad, or it's a pyramid, where they have this connection with every three concepts. So they have a connection between the physical, the spiritual, and the cosmic. They believe that whatever happens inside your mind can affect what is outside. That has an impact also on the cosmos, and vice versa. Whatever happens in the cosmos can affect what's happening inside you and can affect what's happening on the physical realm. And this is why they built their pyramids and their temples, which is called Perba, along the river, the Nile, and they were connected directly with the cosmos. That was not put in place just haphazardly. That was done intentionally because they understood that connection. So every temple along the Nile was connected to a specific star and a specific cosmic notion or a cosmic reaction that happened up in the sky. And this was connected directly to us, to a different part of us, different part of the soul or a different part of the body. So you have that connection. So whenever you would go into a temple, you would feel something different. You will feel something activated, or you will awaken a different part of you, because that is connected to what's up in the sky. And the river, the Nile, was their understanding of the Milky Way. So it is kind of the sky is reflected on earth in their eye in the land of Egypt, that everything was mirrored in a way. To simplify it, if you're looking at the surface of a lake, you see the reflection of the sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens in the sky, you will see the reflection of it on this lake. And this is
Mm-hmm.
how they saw things, that you don't need to see what's happening up there, but you can see what's happening down there as a reflection. And you can change that through your direct connection with that reflection. Going back to what we can do today, every practice you do and every choice you make, you can be that difference. You can make that change. There is so many practices that the Egyptians were doing around Ma'at, which is the 42 principles of law and order. And these were all meant to put a structure to our living. It's kind of the matrix or a layout of how we can live our life every day. They're beautiful, and they say that all of the other books were inspired, or where you will find their teachings in it, like the Ten Commandments or the Gita or the 7 principles of the Sufism or the Buddhism, you will find those roots in those 42 principles. If people would take one principle every day when they wake up and they say, I'm going to apply that today, you have no idea how much that will change things. Even in your small little meditation practice or your physical practice, with putting your intention or your full attention in what you're doing, this makes difference in the world. Everything can change around you. You might not think that what you're doing has an impact, but it actually does. There's so many other examples of how this triad connection or pyramid connection played a role. Like there's also one of the 3 basic spiritual, uh, let's say, understanding of the world was based on 3 different concepts. The first one is called synchronicity. The second one is called pairing. The third one was called the law of correspondence. These were meant to open or activate something called the intelligence of the heart. And this is the key for the entry point of how the Egyptians saw the world. But if you understand each and every single concept of them, you will see how beautiful they are. You'll start seeing the world in a completely different way. And when you start seeing the world in a different way, the world will start seeing you in a different way. The whole dynamics between you and the world will start changing. You will start making things happen without even doing them, just by your heart, by the intention, putting your attention into something, just by working on something, you're giving it your all. You're not cheating someone, and so forth. I mean, I can expand more on those 3 concepts, but I want to hear also your thoughts about what is happening and how these practices can help.
Mm. Yeah, I love how you just simplified everything, because I think when someone says you need to have a spiritual practice, that they have to have 3 hours to sit and be in meditation or to do journaling or to do their oracle cards. And they're all amazing, those things, but they're also tools. And sometimes we have busy lives, we work, we have families, we have children, like whatever it is. And sometimes life doesn't allocate 3 hours for you to be able to sit in a spiritual practice. So I loved that you really touched on that it can be just the most simplest things of how are you talking to yourself? Are you being kind to others? All of those things are spiritual practices, but we just do them just so naturally that we kind of forget that they are what you put out to the world is what you're going to get met back with. I think that that was a really powerful example for you to share. I think we can get really caught up in, oh, we've got to have all of this time to like do a spiritual practice, when it's just about being intentional with your time and your day and like thinking about the thoughts that you're thinking. I do a lot of this work inside my containers, where one of the girls said this to me today: I feel like I'm getting a headache, Annie. And I said, well, where attention goes, energy flows, right? So if you're going to keep saying you feel like you're getting a headache, guess what your reality is going to be? You're literally going to get a headache at the end of the day. So what could you do instead that would actually support you, instead of like making yourself go down that spiral? I loved that you talked about that. And I think for anybody that is listening, that is feeling the heaviness on their heart around the chaos that the world is happening right now. I know for me, I have to remove myself out of it, because I can go down a spiral very easily. It might mean not watching the news. That might mean a couple of pages that I follow on social media are starting to talk about it, which they've never really talked about that kind of stuff on their pages. So I've actually muted them for the moment, because I'm like, I don't want to see that. I need to like stay in my light, because the more of us that stay in our light, the more we're going to be able to help bring up those that are in the darkness. So it's like, what are you doing at the moment that's taking you down the spiral, as opposed to like pulling you up? When you are having conversations with people, are you allowing yourself to feel the fear, or are you like reminding people that this is all happening in divine time? And so it's like, how can we just keep being the light in the darkness, and how can you surround yourself with the people that are going to lift you up, as opposed to like bring you back down? I think that would be just the other thing that I would touch on with just the chaos in the world, is just being really aware of where you're spending your time, what you're absorbing information wise, whether that's through social media, through conversations you're having through mainstream TV. I actually don't personally watch any TV. I know that there's a lot of people out there that do that. That would be the only other thing that I would definitely add to what we were just talking
Mhm.
about there.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Egyptians see it as a cycle of events that keeps on
Hmm.
repeating in everything. So what is happening now through that chaos, how you can overcome the chaos that is out in the world, but also how you can overcome the chaos within yourself, the chaos or the struggles that is internal. And this is how the person becomes realized or becomes awakened, or as we call it, the Hor in the Egyptian
Hmm.
system, which is known as Horus, or the son of Aset or Isis. But he is the concept of realization, the concept of rising and awakening. But this is exactly the same simulation of what's happening in the universe today. How can we all rise from that chaos and bring order back? But that starts with us. And it is the same exact pattern that in the story of creation in ancient Egypt, which is quite different than all the other systems and religions and spiritual books, that it is more than one story put together and forming a cycle of how the world was created. And this exact cycle, it's a pattern that happens in everything. That you start coming out from the waters of the noon, you start coming out of the chaos, and then the matter starts forming, and then the spirit starts coming into the picture, the fire element that brings the spirit into a manifestation. And this happens in the second stage, which is the intermediate world between the heavens and the earth. This is still descending. We haven't reached the earth yet. And this is in our time when you're trying to find yourself. You're trying to overcome those challenges. You're trying to overcome the chaos, and you're about to find your purpose. Then the third stage, which is of Rostau, or the earth manifestation, where the spirit or the cosmic energies have manifested on earth. And this is when we are embodying our purpose. This is when we are actually living all the things we believe in, all the spiritual systems or spiritual concepts that we are practicing. It becomes part of us. We are embodying this ma'at, or this order and justice and truth telling. And then the fourth stage is the end of the cycle, stage that closes that beautiful cycle, and it takes you to the ether, to the transformation, the transmutation, where you transform to become fully realized, where you move into the light. This is a stage where the death of the body, but then it's the birth of the new soul that could go here or there. So this exact same pattern happens within each one of us. The story of creation happens inside our bodies and happens around us on earth. So there is wisdom there. These things happen for a reason, for us to notice
Hmm.
them and to learn from them. And then we can notice those similarities. We can smartly apply them on us, so that we can follow that pattern. We can become better for ourselves, better for the next generations. We can become role models for people who are lost. They can, find some sort of a teaching that can resonate with them. It's important that there are many teachings, and they're very diverse, so that we are all different people, so that everybody can see what fits them, their
Hmm.
society, their belief system, and so forth. Of course, it's heart aching and it's painful to see
Hmm.
what's happening, but somehow it's necessary after we've lost connection with nature, after we've lost our spiritual teachings, kind of a alarm or a kind of a notion to bring us back to that. We will
Hmm.
not do something unless we are pushed towards it, unless we are forced to look for it and bring it back to life, and then we can practice it. So this is small practices or small understandings of some of the ancient Egyptian teachings that are very much alive today. They can be used every day. Like some of them are as simple as following the sun cycle or the moon cycle. Start putting your plans for your work, when you should wait for them to be fully cooked or fully realized, when you can start taking the fruits of your labor. And those were all done at a certain times of the year and a certain times of the month. They were very much in harmony and in synchronicity with the nature. And this is what the gods of Egypt, they're not actually gods. They are called Nitru or nature. And the word Nitru, this is where the word nature supposedly came from, because they are different natures of the one creator. There are different faces or different aspects of that divine. So each one of them represent the wisdom. One of them represents the creativity. One of them represents the willpower, the engine, the fire, how to, push yourself past your challenges and past your whatever you're facing and so forth. So it is built mostly on nature. It is built on how you can be aligned with the natural forces of the world. It is very important that it's coming back, and it's very important that it's bringing us back to the true magic. And the magic is by seeing what is in nature and connecting with it and use it to your benefit, but in doing good, like with the right intention. And I always say that the magic comes from putting your attention into something, like your real full attention, and giving it the right intention. And then things will happen like that. Obviously, it's not that simple. It needs training and it needs,
Yeah.
I wish it's that simple. But I
I wish it
mean,
was that
these
simple
are,
too.
yeah. But these are some of the really beautiful things. And there's so many things that in the ancient Egyptian spiritual system that drew me to it and kind of lit a bulb in my head that, oh my God, like this is amazing. And I'm not saying that just because I'm Egyptian, of course, like I'm proud, but
Say that. It's okay.
yeah. But there is so many things that we can learn from that system for whoever feels, the call to it, or whoever feels drawn to it. Because, you hear so many people like, I feel that God. I don't call them gods because they're not, for me, they're not gods. I feel a call to Bastet, or I feel a call to Sekhmet, or I feel a
Or
call to
ISIS.
Uzier, or exactly. So all of these things are not just because I like them. I like how they look like, or I like what they represent. It's much more than that. There is a more deeper connection. There is a calling, actually, they say, from these figures or these Nichiru, that they call you because you have unlocked something inside yourself that is connected to that aspect. And then this is why they started calling you, and they started, withdrawing to them, because you are reviving them in a way. You are resurrecting them. I think it's really interesting, the timing where all of this is coming back to life, after, I don't know, 7,000 years or even more, instead of being swept away and being forgotten, or being, on the same level of interest, that it's actually rising. It's amazing. It's crazy how it is happening like that. But for me, it's happening for a reason.
100% agree with you on that for sure. Yeah, everything always happens for a reason. It's interesting you say about like that it's a calling, because I 100% feel that. Like, I mean, I've spoken to you about this. I have a deep, deep calling for Egypt. Somewhere along the line, it just hasn't lined up yet, and I trust that. I fully trust that. I think I also shared with you right before I left to go to Greece, I had an Isis statue on my altar, and like I was very connected to the energy, the power, the wisdom that she was bringing. And right before I left, I was like, how am I going to pack her? Because she was big. She had her wings spread out. She was a big Isis. And I was like, but I have to take her to Greece. Anyway, I'd had her for probably 12 months. And I just happened one day, like literally right before I was about to leave to go to Greece, literally I was vacuuming and I knocked her over with the vacuum and she smashed into a million pieces. And I was devastated, but also was like, okay, well, there's my answer. I'm not actually supposed to take her to Greece. She served her purpose here, and I have to be okay with that. I truly believe that there's no coincidences. When I was going to Greece, I was like, I have to get to Egypt. I didn't quite get there when I was there, but I know that it's coming, and I know that whatever is in store, like it's a calling, like it's an initiation, is what I
Mm,
feel. Going to Egypt is not just going and like looking at the pyramids. Like I genuinely feel that it's like it's a deep initiation of unraveling, of unfolding, of learning another spiritual language, letting that compound on top of everything that I've already done. So I loved that you touched on that, because I think you're right. Like, I know you're right that it is a calling. And I think the hardest thing for us is to trust that it's a calling and to follow through on that calling, instead of just being, it's not really like anything, like push it aside. When you lean into whatever that calling is, like I truly think that's where so much of the magic actually unfolds. So I just love this whole conversation. Is there anything that you
mm.
feel is on your heart that you want to share before I shift gears?
No, well, on that topic that, we talked about, having a retreat or a trip to Egypt where we can feel and experience those sacred spaces and kind of going through exactly where the footsteps of the ancient Egyptians did through their initiation process. Because as you were saying, that it is a sort of initiation, not in a culty way in any way,
Oh,
but it is an initiation for every different part of the body. And because every temple speaks to a different part of the body and a different part of the soul, like think of it as if it's like the chakra system in the Indian system,
mm-hmm,
where along the Nile, they would go from every temple and moving from the south, moving upwards to stop at every temple. And they will spend as much time there in a school. Like these were schools of teaching, and they had priests and they had initiations and they had ceremonies and they had all sort of rituals. And you wouldn't be able to move forward to the next place unless you master that part, that temple, that part of you, part of the soul, until it's open and it's awakened. Hopefully we get to do that at some point
mm-hmm.
with that beautiful retreat or trip through the Nile, through every temple, and explain the stories of each one of them. But I agree with you completely that it all starts with you. It all starts with what you believe in. What you believe in come to life. You bring it to life. And like, don't underestimate the power of your heart, the power of your intention. This is your guiding system. How do I know
Mm-hmm.
that this is true or not? This is real or not? The only thing that you know is your inner guidance system comes from the heart, because the heart never lies. The mind might do games. You have the ego comes into play and all of these struggles that comes with it. The heart always tells you the truth. Perhaps we will do it one day, hopefully soon, because we talked about that.
And it's not even a hopefully, Karim, as far as
Yes,
I'm
it will.
concerned. We have not had these discussions or spoken about this in our conversations, unless it's going to happen. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a matter of when is it going to happen. So we
Yeah,
have definitely spoken about a collaboration, and really being able to bring this, not only my spiritual gifts that I can bring to the world to help women go through that transformation, or men go through that transformation, but also like your knowledge, your background, being an Egyptian. You have so much wisdom and so much knowledge. And I truly think that this is a big reason why I haven't gone to Egypt yet, because I've needed to have that person. I've needed to like get out of the tourist trap, right? Actually get to the roots of Egypt. I truly believe that you have come into my life for not just for me, but for us to bring our gifts to the world and be able to help other
absolutely.
people that want to walk that path on a much deeper spiritual journey than just going and visiting the pyramids. Because like I said, I truly don't think that that's not my call for it. There's deeper wisdom that is going
Absolutely.
to happen in that place. So if you are listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in, I 100% want to like come and do this retreat with you guys, in the show notes we do have an application form. We're just planting the seeds at the moment, just to put it out there to the universe. If we have some people say that they are 100% keen, then we will reach out and we will let you know what our decision is moving forward. But we just want to plant that seed today. So if you are someone that is curious on experiencing a retreat with the two of us over in Egypt, then please fill out that application form. It's just an expression of interest right now. We'll let you know what the details look like in the coming future. I'm very excited about that. But something else that I'm super excited about that I also want to talk about before we wrap up. And I'm so honored to have a front row seat to this entire birthing process because I have witnessed your magic. I've heard your magic. We've had so many deep conversations. I hear how passionate you are about bringing so much more of the Egyptian ancient spirituality into the world and into those people that truly want to hear what it can do for them specifically. I know that you have just recently launched something very, very exciting. So would you love to share a little bit about what this is and who it's for?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited. It has been a labor of love. It has been coming into fruition. I used to give workshops as offerings, and then finally, I just launched my online platform where I do full courses of different themes or different topics in the ancient Egyptian spirituality from my teachings. And these courses are quite deep. They're for those who really want to learn the essence of what is this all about. Very detailed, and they are powerful. And if you feel that you want to learn more, there is a free training on my platform, and there is a free meditation as well. It's a cohesive course, share all my knowledge to with everyone who's interested. There's a lot of practices. There is the physical, there is the breathing, there is the philosophy. I'm excited about it. It's a new chapter. So yeah, thank
I'm
you for
so
mentioning.
excited. Like I said, I feel like I had front row seat to the behind the scenes of it. All those coffee shops we sat at that you've seen on my social medias, that's what Kareem was working on while I was working on my business stuff. It was really special. I felt really honored and privileged to be a part of that process and to watch you pour your heart into it and to pour your gifts into it to then share with the world because like there's just too much knowledge and too much wisdom and too much of an impact inside these teachings for you to not get it out there. So I'm like so excited for those people that are 100% wanting to learn more about it. Yes, if you head to the show notes, Karim has kindly offered a free meditation, so you can go and download that. There's also the link directly to his Instagram as well, if you want to go and check out his Instagram. And there'll also be the direct link to his website as well, so you can go and check out his course. And if there's anything that is on your heart that you want to share around today's episode, please come and let us know. We're here to be of service, and we love when you slide into our DMs and like, this was amazing. Like, thank you for sharing this. This was my takeaway. Like, I loved that. Can we talk more on that? You need to let us know so that we can bring more of what it is that you really want to hear. Kareem, it was such an honor to have you come on and share your wisdom and your knowledge with these beautiful people, because at the end of the day, the people that are listening to this podcast are just like you and I. You know, they're on this journey already, and they're open to hearing different ways and different spiritualities and just seeing how they can implement them into their own life. So thank you for giving your time and pouring all of your knowledge and your wisdom and your teachings into today's episode. It means the absolute world to me that you have done that for me and my community as well. And if you have any questions for either Karim or myself, like I said, you can head to the show notes and you can send us a DM. Karim, do you have anything that you would like to say before we sign off today?
I'm very thankful and humbled and honored to be here with you and to share all of that, because my whole purpose from doing any of that is to share that knowledge. Everything that I'm discovering, everything that I'm studying, whether with Egyptologists or in deep research papers or the hieroglyphs themselves, that I wanted to get out there. I want people to know more about it. I want the right information to come across people, and then they can use it and utilize it in their everyday life, because it's a beautiful wisdom that I would love to share with everyone. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for sharing your gifts with all of us. We are honored to hear them.
Thank you.
All right, Bam. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, and we will talk very soon. Bye for now.